Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make this sort of Sonic styled eye material for Blender. You'll be able to use it with other software as well. It's just Blender is my software of choice. So yeah, that's what I'm choosing to show it in. So I'm going to be using Photoshop. You don't need Photoshop as far as I know. If you're using, say, GIMP or something, you should be able to make an eye material like this. So let me close out some of my other things. So first off, we're going to make a ellipse using the ellipse tool. And I'm going to make sure that it's centered correctly on the image. We're going to make this sphere, or not sphere, ellipse gray. But we don't want it to be but we want it to be a perfectly even gray. So the perfectly neutral gray for this would be 808080 here in the color input. So I'm going to make it a little bigger because I think it's a bit small. Okay. So now we're going to duplicate this. We're going to change this one to black. And we're just going to make it smaller than the original. Maybe I want to squeeze in a little bit in the center. I think that looks good. Maybe get a little bit taller. There. I like the way that looks. Okay. And we're going to create just one more sphere. So duplicate. And this one is going to be white. And I'm going to make this one smaller as well. And I'm going to move this up to the top. Now, most people, they just use the natural specular reflections, but just to me personally, that just doesn't look right. So having this extra emissive light on here, to me, just looks better. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So now that we have this, I'm going to also create a new Blender project, just so there's nothing. We're starting from complete scratch. So this is what I have so far. What I'm going to do for the iris here is that I am going to add an inner shadow, change the distance to 0, increase the size a bit, also increase the choke. Also want to make sure the opacity is set to full. Just make it so that the outer edge is black and it's sort of going in. Top of that, we're going to add a drop shadow. This one's not going to be as big. But we're going to increase the spread, change the opacity. There we go. I think that'll look good. Also want to go on the pupil here and add a drop shadow from that. Turn the distance down and turn the opacity up, and then increase the spread and size. I think just there. I think this is I think it's a little wide, so I'm gonna pull it in a little bit. Nah, I like the way that looked a little bit more. There. Maybe make it in general smaller. There. I like the way that looks. And we're going to create a new here just so I can make the sort of texture that we saw. So I am going to bring up car here. As you can see, they have a little bit of a texture going on here. So that's what I'm going to be making now. So in our new file here, I'm going to go to Filter, Render Fibers. And I use these parameters because they work well enough. And we go to Filter, Distort, Polar Coordinates. This will make it into like a sphere-like shape. Once we have that, we can blur it a little bit. So I'm going to add a Gaussian blur and a radial blur, and it's going to be set to type zoom. I'm just going to set it to like 28, and there we go. That gives us our nice inside of the eye texture. So I'm going to paste it, scale it down so that it's the same size as the iris. Okay. And then I'm just going to set it to overlay. And on here, I'm going to grab a mask from the ellipse. Make it a mask from the ellipse. And this is the result. I think that looks pretty good. If I were to change anything though, I might blur this a bit more. Oh, make sure that it doesn't affect the mask. There. I think that looks good. Yeah. So I'm going to turn off the specular highlight for now. And just save this as Sonic Eyes Diffuse, since this is the diffuse map. Or at least that's what I refer to it as. So now we're going to make the roughness map. So what I'm going to create a new layer and make it black, so that way it lines with the eye here. So wait, no, this is the roughness, so that's going to stay white. But we will need a black at some point, so keep that back there. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the effects on here. I'm going to hide this. And as for the reflection here, I'm going to set that to white. I'm going to turn off the drop shadow. I'm going to save this as the roughness. So I'm going to hit Sonic Eyes. I'm not going to call it roughness, I'm just going to call it rough, just to be short. Actually, after I finished recording this, I thought I'd go back and fix the roughness. So, yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to set this to white. And we're going to go into the drop shadow. We're going to set it to screen. And then set it to white. We'll save that as the roughness. Okay, so now we want to make the metallic. So I'm going to hide this. Go into our our iris here, set it to white, and turn on the black. And this is our metallic map. Sonic Eyes Metallic. And now we just need to make the normal map. So I already have a sphere normal map here baked that you can use. I'll put a link to it. Since this is probably going up on YouTube, I'll put it in the description. So I'm just going to copy, paste, and much like we did with this effect here, we're going to do the same with the normal map. Make sure that it aligns up. Since I'm in Photoshop, it's just snapping onto the edges. Cool. And now I'm going to duplicate this one more time. I'm going to make another background. I'm going to use the eyedropper. Grab this sort of background color. So that way background lines up with the rest of it. And we'll go to File, Save As, Sonic Eyes, Normal. Now I'm going to go back a bit. Just back to when we did the diffuse. One thing you want to do here is that this texture is very like bright and stuff, so you're gonna want to drop the opacity to 50. I think it looks better in my opinion, and then save that over the diffuse. Wait, turn off the specular highlight. Now save that over the diffuse, and that just reminds me, still gotta do the highlight. So I'm gonna make new layer here, and this is gonna be the specular highlight. So I'm gonna call this one is Sonic Eyes EMM. That's for emission. Okay, so now we're gonna switch over to Blender. I'm gonna create a new project. I'm just gonna create a plane for now, just for us to set up our material on. I'm gonna go over to the shading tab, and I'm gonna navigate to where the textures are. Let's create a new material. Zoom into our plane here. Let's see, it's a nice looking plane. I'm gonna I'm gonna select all of these and drag them in. Well, I guess you can only do one at a time, but oh well. Oh, come on, Blender. Let's have our emission. Blender, please. Our metallic. And our roughness. So if we just put the diffuse into the base color for now, we'll see. It's the main eye color. If we put the roughness into the roughness, that'll tell us how rough everything is. Now you can see it has a bit of like shininess to it. I'm gonna plug the metallic in. The metallic makes that look a little nicer. And finally, we do the normal. Now, the thing about our normal map is that it is a concave, it's a convex normal map, so it points outward. And we want it to be concave because eyes, the iris dips inward. Like it dips inward. Like if I were to look at it from this side view, it goes inward rather than outward. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to go to Converter, separate XYZ, drag the color into there. We're going to go to Color Invert, and we're going to invert the X. Invert the Y, but we're not going to invert the Z. You don't have to invert Z. And then Converter, combine XYZ. No, plug in the X. Oh, come on. Plug in the Y, and then plug in the Z. Now we can create a vector normal map. Plug this into the color. Oh, and one last thing I forgot. Set this to non-color. And you're actually going to want to do that for everything that isn't the diffuse. So, non-color. Nope, wait, no. That stays sRGB. This goes to non-color. Actually, I think I like the way it looks better as an sRGB. I think it looks good. Anyway, now we have our normal map. Plug that into the normal input. Yeah, let me see. Does this look better non-color for sRGB? It looks about the same. About this one non-color. I think that looks actually better. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. But make sure the diffuse is always set to sRGB, but everything else should be non-color. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, not exactly. There's still a little bit more. Because you want this to have color, don't you? You know, we don't want it to be just plain, like gray. I mean, maybe if your character has it, then yeah. But yeah, we're gonna create a color mix RGB. And one thing too is I'm gonna take the metallic here and I'm gonna plug its color into the factor. So that way we know it mixes properly. And I'm going to hit overlay. So that way it overlays over the original color. And now, whatever we decide to set this as, that's what the color of our eye will be. It's like if I want an orangish, yellow, reddish here. We have that. And I think that looks pretty good. If we want to, we can switch between, color and non-color just to see how it looks. Yeah, looks better as non-color. Okay, so now we need the emission. Now you can just plug this. Oh, I'm gonna move these out of the way. And yeah, for our emission here, I'm gonna create a vector, or converter math. I'm gonna set it to multiply. Drag color in here and put that into the emission node. So now if we set this to say something like 5, it'll be really bright. Since the normal default value of 1 is kind of dark, so I'm going to make it 5. So now the highlight is really light. But the problem with highlights like this is that you'll notice if I render and add something like a cube, the specular reflection is actually emitting light since it's an emission node. So what we're gonna do to fix that is I'm gonna create a color mix RGB node, and I'm gonna put an input light path, set camera ray into the factor. Then I'm gonna drag this down to our bottom one, set the color to black. So now if we go into render, add a cube, you can see no actual light coming off of it. And you might wonder, well, why don't you want light coming off of it? But the thing is that it can create fireflies and other artifacting issues, so you don't really want it in there if you can, get rid of it. since it's such a small light, you really don't want it affecting things. And even then, it's supposed to be like a reflection anyway, and not an actual light. Okay, moving on. We still have one last thing to do to make this look pretty. And that is take our normals. Actually, we can leave these the same. I'm going to bring this normal map up here, and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm just going to take the color and go directly into this one and plug this into the clear coat normal. So, oh, and I forgot, we need to turn clear coat on. And as you can see, now we have this shiny, glossy outer reflection from the clear coat, and the clear coat normal is affected by the convex normal map, pushing it outward, giving it this nice spherical look to it. You can turn down the normal strength maybe to something like 0.5, just so that, like, it's bumping, but it's not like too much. It looks fine in cycles, though you can't really tell because there's no lighting in here. So real quick, I'm just gonna load up an environment texture, like this one. So yeah, if I load it now, yeah, say it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees, and ooh, look at that. It's a really nice looking eye texture, I'd say. If you want, you can drop this again. Yeah, I think 0.5 looks good. But yeah, that's essentially our eye material. And this probably works with other 3D software, but because I just used Blender, that's what I decided to demonstrate it with. But yeah, if you know how to use it with your own 3D software, you can do that, and it should work just fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just let me know in the replies or comments. And oh yeah, that's right. Did I? Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know if you have any further questions in the comments below or reply on Twitter. So I'll see you guys later.